Well, today we have Lauren Bleggi from the Sage Alliance School, and I'm so excited you're here, Lauren. Thank you for taking time out to come and speak with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I am ecstatic to be here and to share information about Sage Alliance and to put more information out there about the mental health resources that are available for students in the city.
Fantastic. So let's start with you. And why don't you tell us about you and your background and what led you to where you are today?
Yes, and that in and of itself is quite the story, which I love to share because one thing that students sometimes forget is as the educators and adults in the building, we too have been through many challenges to get to where we are. Success looks different for everybody, and it means something different for everybody. It's really a subjective term. So for me, I am originally from North Carolina and born and raised. I went to school at UNCW. I did not know where to go in terms of my career, in terms of anything. So when students are asked that question of what do you want to do when you grow up, I was the student to say, I have no idea. And it was really helpful to do general classes in college because I really got a good idea of, different careers that I could go into. And it was actually a counselor at UNCW that pulled me aside and said, you know what is your favorite class that you're in right now? And I said, you know what, I am loving my education class. It's just hitting every single thing for me. And she said, why don't you try becoming an education major? See how that goes. And so I decided to move forward with that. It was great. I got my undergrad in elementary education. And as I worked as a teacher, I realized I really liked that one-on-one focus. And so I decided to go back to school to go into mental health and that one-on-one, which is school counseling. And so I went to University of Utah. So I moved from North Carolina to University of Utah. It took a couple tries to get into my master's program, but it was worth the wait. And those are the kinds of challenges that students will face as they are going through their own educational journey that I love to speak about. So I got my master's in educational psychology with a focus in college and career readiness, which is my true passion along with mental health. I worked as a school counselor for about 6 or 7 years in Utah, and then I decided to come back to the East Coast to be closer to family. And I started work in a doctorate program. And the way I got into my doctorate program was as a school counselor, you can help many students, but there are also students that you're not able to help, whether it's because of bureaucracy, whether it's because of red tape. You're only able to help kind of that middle group. And I wanted to be able to help all of them. I wanted to be able to figure out, think outside the box, and in a way, build a box for these students because one size does not fit all, especially in this world. And so I decided to go back to my doctorate so that I could know how to build a box appropriately for these students. And I got my doctorate from Baylor University in learning and organizational change. Came to New York City. I worked at Huntington Learning Center for a bit as their director of education. And now I am at Sage Alliance Schools. And we are opening our new location in Midtown Manhattan. And this school is such an amazing program. I'm so excited to share it with you. But it brings together my two passions, which is that college and career readiness and mental health, providing those therapeutic supports for students in need.
So when you say that you're opening up Sage Alliance, it's not open yet?
It opens September.
Okay.
So yes, so it
this is
opens
exciting.
September 2025. So we are currently accepting applications for our September cohort. But yeah, we open very soon.
So why don't you tell us what does a Sage Alliance student look like?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So Sage Alliance students, these are students that are academically capable. They are usually average to high intelligence. They want to do well. They can see that they can do well and they want to do well academically. They also have challenges that they need to navigate. And so these are students that, for a multitude of reasons, have found themselves not able to go to school as often. And it could be it could be the mental health that they are experiencing, anxiety, depression. It could be struggling with ADHD. It could be negative educational experiences. Unfortunately, a lot of students that have mental health struggles, they are usually seen as people who might not care as much in the school. And so sometimes their experiences with educators might not be as positive as others. And that can lead to them choosing not to go to school because they feel they will not be successful, even though they want to be successful. So in our program at Sage Alliance, what we do is we marry together therapeutic supports and academic supports. So these are students that have the rigorous academics and a college prep program. We help them identify what it is that they want to do after high school. We help make sure that they are able to get to that point, whether it is college, whether it is vocational track, whatever it is they want to do. We want to make sure that they are able to get there. And then we also have an academic support program that we provide to them, because these are students that might have had educational gaps. They might have experienced being out of school for a few months because of the struggles that they have. And so we help build them up and help them with those educational gaps so they can get back on grade level. And at the same time, we have the therapeutic supports. So we have therapists on staff, and these therapists are our anchors in the school. Each student has a therapist. They meet with this therapist twice a week. And in that individual therapy, it could be CBT, it could be DBT. It's really whatever type of therapeutic support is best for that student. And a lot of times these students are coming to us with experience in outside providers. We do partner with those outside providers. And so we work with them to find the therapeutic support that works best for them. And in addition to the individual supports, we also have a class called enrichment, and these are therapist-led classes. So the therapists take a look at our student body each semester, and they see where extra supports are needed in terms of soft skills. So an example would be at one of our other SAGE locations, we have a class called knitting. And in that class, while the class is knitting, they're teaching the skill of self-soothing. So these students, when they have a moment where they feel overwhelmed or overstimulated, how can they navigate through that? How can they understand how to cope in that moment to get through it? And that's the soft skill that they're learning in that group class, and that works as our group counseling.
What would be another example of a soft skill besides knitting?
A soft skill besides knitting, something could be like yoga therapy. Mm-hmm. Like taking a yoga class would be a great way to do it, because if you're able to move your body, then sometimes that can help you get out of the cyclical motion in your mind. So one thing that you can do is take a walk, go get some water, and come back. The yoga therapy allows you to have a better understanding of different movements that can help calm you down. And so even though it's yoga, it's teaching you how to use your body to help get you through this emotional and overstimulating moment.
Very interesting. Now, I understand that Sage Alliance School in New York City will be opening for the first time in September, but this school's been in existence for a while elsewhere, hasn't it?
It has, yes. So Sage Alliance actually opened in 1997, and we have 3 locations in New Jersey. We have a location in Rochelle Park, which was our first. We have a location in Mahwah and a location in Paramus. And so for these locations, they actually are able to partner with the school districts there, and they're one of the top out-of-district placements for the school districts in New Jersey. And they've been really doing a great job. We have students that come in, and one student I know in particular came in when they were in 6th grade, and nonverbal at that time, feeling very hopeless, feeling very confused, not quite sure what the future would hold. And over the years of being able to get that therapeutic support and be around people similar to them and have without that stigmatizing experience. They're actually graduating this year and going to college, and they are, intending to be pre-med and going into the mental health field themselves because they've seen what mental health professionals can do to help them. And while not every student at Sage chooses to go to college, we do have 85% of our students choose to attend college. But the goal really is to help them understand that there is a life after high school. They can be successful in that life. They can have the skills to be very happy in that life. And that really is the goal. I tell parents all the time, the goal of Sage, it's not graduation. Graduation is a side effect of attending Sage. The goal of Sage is when a student comes in, we want to help them identify, what do you want after high school? And that's such a loaded question for a lot of people. It's a very scary question for a lot of people. But we're not asking for the rest of your life. We're saying, what do you want the year after high school? What would you like your life to look like? Do you want to go to college? And sometimes they don't even know. And one thing that we do, we are a college prep school. And so even if a student comes in 9th grade and they're like, absolutely not, I am not going to college, we will make sure that if they change their mind in their senior year, they are ready to go to college. Even if they change their mind at the last minute, they will have the transcripts, they will have the skills to write their essays. We'll make sure their SAT is done if they choose to take it. We'll make sure that they are ready in case they change their mind.
I'm not a clinician by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a lawyer. But I think it's really important that young people know that if they choose something now, post-high school, it's not a life commitment.
It's not.
That they can change their mind and that it's okay to change their minds. And I think for such a long time, we being adults would say, you've got to choose something. You've got to declare your major. Mm-hmm. You've got to know what you want. You have to get on a path. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing necessarily, but I think it's really important for young people to know that they can make a decision now that might change, or they can decide, hey, you know what? I thought that would be right for me, but it's not right for me. And it's okay to change.
It's okay to change your mind. Statistically speaking, an average human changes their career at least 5 times in a lifetime. And the majority of people actually don't go into the major. They don't do a career that matches the major they have in college. And that is very, very normal because that's just like what you were saying. We're not asking what you want to do the rest of your life.
It's very different here in this country compared to Europe. I don't know if you have any experience with what happens in some European countries, particularly Ireland or England and even Finland, that they really require these young people to be very defined. Because when they apply to university, they apply to a program, not just the university, and they really need to know what they're doing, and they get locked in. I can't imagine how stifling or frightening that might be. And listen, this is not a criticism to anybody listening to us about England, Ireland, or Finland. It's just a different approach, and Americans are approaching this very differently now.
Absolutely. And that's really the beauty of it is, each location has a different approach. And what we're trying to do is help the students have a better understanding of how to navigate where they are at. And it really is, what do you want to do now? I mean, even if you, and this is why I love sharing my story, because if you had asked 18-year-old me, would you want to go into education? I was so ecstatic to graduate from high school and be done with it. High school. The fact that I'm working in a high school would never have crossed my mind. But I absolutely adore it. I love it. There is something so amazing when you see a student have that realization. They go from, I don't know if I can, I'm not sure, I don't think I'm good enough, I don't know, to maybe I can, to, oh my gosh, I did. Like that transition is just, it's a phenomenal.
I do know what that feels like because, and I've said it on this podcast before, I started out my career as an attorney, and I think I was 8 years in and was just really disenchanted with the law. I was a corporate attorney and just not feeling it. And I left and I became a high school history teacher.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So in an all-girls college preparatory high school. And then I became the dean of students. And I loved that job. And I thought being the dean was the best job in the building, by the way, because they all came to me and talked about everything.
Yes.
But yeah, I loved it. So, and I love adolescent girls. I don't know that many people out there will actually say that, but I absolutely love adolescent girls. And I think one of the reasons why I love them is because they hold us accountable.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yeah.
They hold us adults accountable. And it was kind of mind-blowing at first, but I learned from them. You know, I was there to teach them, but they definitely were my teachers. And then after 6 years of that, having had a lot of students who had learning differences and challenges and certainly some mental health challenges, I had girls who were anorexic, anxiety, depression, you know, all of that. I really wanted to know how I could be more instrumental in helping them. And that's when I discovered that there was a whole field of law called special education law, which I never knew existed. And that's when I transitioned out of teaching and into what I do. So, you know, you're talking my talk here. I really like it. So I'm so excited about this. What attracted you to the mental health field?
So I actually, and you'll find this a lot with people in the mental health field, they either experience it themselves or they have seen someone close to them experience it. So for me, I actually experience it. So I myself have anxiety. And for me, it was very confusing because I was actually not diagnosed until I was 30.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to say I have anxiety?
Oh, let me tell you. And now I will preface this by saying every person's experience is unique.
Right.
So the idea that, you know, this one-stop shop of this is anxiety, same thing, this is depression, this is fill in the blank, it's not probable. Every person's experience is unique. So I'd like to preface that, you know, my experience is very unique and it may not reflect another person's experience. But for me, I was highly emotional. I had very intense reactions to things and I couldn't quite understand why I would have that reaction. I would feel very intense emotions and sense of like I would be, when I got overwhelmed, I would be very, very sad or I would get very frustrated. And so it would come out as a very intense emotion and people would ask, what's wrong? What led to that? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. And at the same time, what I found, as many girls are in the same position, we have high processing speeds. A lot of us do. And that's what I was able to do, which is why I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 30s. But, you know, as you get older, your processing speeds go down, you know, you age. And that's when it came out. And let me tell you, it was the most validating moment to understand, because my whole life I had been basically named emotional.
Right.
And it took a while, but that's why I got into mental health, was because I was emotional and it was meant to be stigmatizing. It was meant to be almost like a name call, a negative, defamatory in a way. And I owned it.
Well, you know, I'm just thinking about how somebody may describe an emotional woman as histrionic.
Exactly.
So is it what you're describing, perhaps a presentation of anxiety that's, what's the word I'm looking for, that shows up in women frequently?
It's hard to say if that is specific to women, but it definitely
I'm sure
is.
it's not specific to women. I think perhaps I'm wondering if it shows up differently in men, maybe in anger or outbursts, whereas
Yes.
women might cry or
Have more tears. I see what you're saying.
I don't
And
know.
yes,
I don't know.
I can see that. Usually when it comes to anxiety, it can lead to shutdowns. It can lead to breakdowns where you see a lot of tears. It usually leads to avoidance.
Right.
It can lead to a mini plethora of things. And that is where a therapeutic school comes in handy, where I'm like you, I did not know therapeutic schools were a thing. And as soon as I found out, I just beelined my way over to it because I was like, this is where I need to be.
That's so cool.
If I could have access to a therapeutic school in high school, oh my goodness, what a change.
Well, I think, I'm beginning to think that we all need therapeutic
Oh,
schools.
absolutely. Especially in this day and age with the
Yes.
access to social media,
Right.
with the constant barrage of every other person, what they're doing. But yeah, that is what led me to mental health is I understood, and this was before I even had my own diagnosis, but it led me to have a better understanding of how can I help somebody else navigate this? Because I navigated and understood how to respond when I would have those emotional reactions. I started to recognize my own triggers. I started to recognize how I can navigate. And that's how I was able to successfully work through each of those moments. And it became a passion of mine to help others. And so when I see students come in and they have that response of, I don't know, I get it. I totally get where you're coming from. Let me help you. Let's get you involved with therapy. Let's get you in the classroom. And we can help you navigate that as well. And in a way, I mean, I'm sure you know this. Every single person has anxiety. Anxiety is a very normal experience for humans.
Well, it's a propelling feeling and emotion.
Exactly.
It propels us forward. It makes us move.
Absolutely. And it's protective. It's a protective barrier that your body has to you. So I always love to tell my students with anxiety is I'm like, look how much your body loves you. It wants to protect you so badly.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. So and that's why mental health is so important to me because everybody has it at different levels. Everybody's navigating through their own challenges. Some people have a better way of outwardly expressing themselves and there are some that have difficulty with that. And it's important for people to know everybody has mental health at different levels.
Right. Oh, I love that. That's such a great message.
Can you hang on one quick sec?
Yeah.
Am I doing okay?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Just got paranoid that I didn't hit record on anything.
We're doing great.
Oh, good.
So let's talk about, again, move back to the Sage Alliance in Manhattan. What's the age group here? You mentioned high school. Is this a high school program exclusively?
It's 7th grade through 12th grade.
Okay.
Yes. So
we got some middle schoolers there.
Absolutely. So we take in 7th through 8th grade because we want to, if we can help students a bit earlier than 9th grade, we can help get them back on track in terms of getting them back on grade level if they've had those educational gaps. We have an extra couple of years to help support them therapeutically so that by the time they get in 9th grade, when that transcript really, really matters if they do choose to go to a college, we have that much more ability to help them get where they want to go. So that's why we start in 7th grade rather than 9th.
And what age is that, 13?
It can be as low as 12, 12, I think, is about as low, but it really depends on, it's hard to say. I don't want to say a specific age in case there's an 11-year-old out there who's in 7th grade.
Yeah, it's possible, I suppose.
Yeah, so.
But I would say it's
probably
usually
12
around
to 18.
12 to 13
Yeah.
for 7th grade. But it doesn't matter. And are you a 10 or 12-month school year program?
10-month.
Okay.
Yes. So our other SAGE locations are 12 months, so that's definitely something we could look into. But starting out, we want to start off slow with that.
Okay. And what are the different types of diagnoses? Well, you know what? Let me ask it a different way. does diagnosis matter?
No, it does not. We accept students with IEPs, without IEPs. There is no specific diagnosis that we need in order for a student to be enrolled. Basically, what we are looking for is more the presenting symptoms. Does this student struggle with going to school? Does this student have symptoms similar to anxiety, to depression? We work a lot with students with ADHD. ADHD is, a lot of students with ADHD experience mental health as well. We work with students with emotional challenges, and we work, I would say, many, if not most of our students have school avoidance or school refusal in some way.
Do you know whether or not school avoidance has increased since 2020, since COVID and the shutdown?
I don't know. I don't know the data on that. I will say I feel very confident in saying the mental health crisis has.
Yes.
And a lot of school avoidance is connected to that mental health crisis.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's just anecdotally, too.
Yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about the program, how it works, how many students in a classroom, the student-to-teacher ratio.
Yes, so we are a 10-to-1 program across the board. So what that looks like is we have in a classroom, we'll never have more than 10 students in a classroom with a teacher. And we really want to keep it that small because we want to make sure that every student receives an individualized experience in their academics. And so we help train teachers in many different ways of disseminating information, and especially when it comes to assessments, because as I'm sure you know, test anxiety is a very big part of the academic journey. And so for students that do want to go to college, there is a very large test that stands in the way, and that is the SAT or the ACT, whichever they choose to take.
Although some universities are optional now.
Some
right?
are optional. Yeah, it's becoming more and more universities are starting to require it again.
Oh, that's right. They're moving back in
They're
that direction.
moving back. Yeah. And a lot of scholarships are required, or the SAT is required for scholarships as well. So you have to get a certain score there. But there are still quite a few universities that do not require the SAT or ACT. So it's not something where if you don't take it, college is out of the question. It's just, again, it depends on what that student wants. So what we do in our classes is if test anxiety is an issue, we work with them and kind of build up that resilience and the reframing so that they have different assessments and slowly build it up so that when they are ready to take the SAT, they've had so many different opportunities. They know exactly how to navigate it strategically, how to cope, how to handle those overwhelming and overstimulating moments, and especially the negative automatic thoughts that come in, which are probably the most difficult to navigate.
The negative self-talk.
The negative self-talk, that one is a hard one for a lot of students. And it is part of that anxiety, depression cycle that many students struggle with. My personal favorite, it was a lifesaver for me, is positive affirmations. Actually, in Sage Alliance, I created what I call our positive affirmation wall. And it's a multitude of photos with affirmations on there. Things like, I am confident, I am smart, I can do this, I am ready. Things like that. And so when they come out of their class, they are faced with these positive affirmations. And just in case anyone out there does not know how the positive affirmations work, the goal is to offset the negative automatic thoughts that we have. So you have control over what your brain thinks. The automatic thoughts are there, and the positive affirmations are things that you tell yourself. So what I always recommend for our students is look at yourself in the mirror and you say it to yourself, and you say it 5 times. You can say, I am confident, I am smart, I can do this, whatever those affirmations need to be. And if you say them enough, I guarantee you will start to believe them and they will become your automatic thoughts.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to put those up on my mirror.
Oh, it is a life changer. Yes, it is. That's a huge part of how I was able to navigate through my own mental health. And so I really, really love helping students kind of find their positive affirmations. Because again, every person's experience is so different. The positive affirmations are different for every student.
And are you following the core curriculum? How does it work?
Yes, so we don't do regents at our school, but we do follow the core curriculum. So we follow the New York State guidelines for all of our classes. We have 22 credits that students have to pass in order to graduate. The nice thing is we do have some wiggle room in terms of extra credits, so they'll have room to take extra electives and things like that because they can take up to 28 credits if they stay 9 through 12. But we follow the core curriculum with the New York State. So.
And how many students can you have at Sage Alliance?
In our current location, we can take 80 students.
Okay.
So we're looking to start out probably more on about 20 to 30 in September because we really want to make sure that we are doing right by our students. We really want to make sure that we are providing the utmost support for these students. And while we have this really tried and true program in New Jersey, as I'm sure anyone can tell you, New Jersey and New York, very different. And so we want to be ready for the experiences that New York students have that New Jersey might not. And so that is why we're starting out just a little bit smaller.
So I know some schools, when they start with the lowest grade, and then they build on that. Are you doing the same thing, only taking 13-year-olds kind of age group, or you're going, if you have a senior and a junior and a sophomore, you'll take them as well?
Across the board, yeah.
Okay.
The
right.
goal here is we saw a need. We are sister schools with Aaron's school and Rebecca's school. Aaron's school specializes in helping students with learning disabilities, and Rebecca's school specializes in helping students who fall on the autism spectrum. And what they found is they were getting students that didn't quite fall into the scope of help that they could provide. And these were students that needed mental health support. And so that's what brought Sage to New York is, being sister schools with Aaron and Rebecca. The Sage schools kind of got together and were like, we need to expand to New York.
Well, I'm really excited that you have, because there's, and I'm sure you've heard this over and over again, there's just such an enormous need for a therapeutic school
Yes.
for this age group. And as we were saying earlier, since 2020, the mental health crisis has proliferated. And we see it in our students here. And we don't have or haven't had many options for this group of students who really need a therapeutic milieu where they can go to school and have help with anxiety, with depression, with ADHD, with I don't want to come to school, I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yes.
And I've been seeing it more and more over the last several years, and it's been frustrating as an advocate to not have access to more programs in New York City. So this is actually really, really very exciting.
Well, the thing that I am most excited about, I think, with Sage, because we have some therapeutic schools here, but the thing with Sage is it helps a very specific type of student. A lot of times when we talk about special education, there's a lot of assumptions that are made. And when it comes to mental health, these are very, very, very capable students. These are very academically capable students. They need help to access their academic capabilities. And so these are students that want the rigor. They want the challenge. They want to be challenged. They want that high level of classroom engagement. It's just a little bit scary sometimes because they might get overwhelmed and overstimulated, and all of a sudden, what do? I don't want to be overstimulated, so I will just stay away. That way I can guarantee I won't be overstimulated. right? And so what we do is we provide what's called a menu of options for these students. And basically, we are ready and prepared for when it happens. It's not a wonder of if it happens. There's an expectation that it will. And so it takes away the stigma, because every student that attends SAGE understands that we are all here to do the best that we can. And that is adults, that is families, that is teachers, that is students. We are all here to do the best that we can every single day, whatever that looks like. And so with that menu of options, they can say, okay, in this moment, I am feeling overwhelmed. What can I do? I can stand up and go stand in the back of the class. I can go let my teacher know. We have individual learning spaces where the teacher can provide work to students and they can just take a 15-minute break while still continuing with the content. We can also have them go meet with their therapist, and talk about it and say, hey, what led to that moment of overwhelm? Was there a sound in the classroom? Was it the subject matter? Was it that you've already been in school for 3 hours and your body is telling you, I need to move? What is it? And the thing that I love about this program is, like I was saying before, graduation is a side effect. The goal is the skill building. Because when they get to college, if they choose to go to college or they choose to go into a job, they are going to be in a situation where they're in a class of 400 or they are talking to a client or a customer. And they're going to have to understand, how can I navigate this if I'm feeling overwhelmed? And they will have the skills because they've done it so many times at SAGE. They've had all of the different experiences, all of the social anxiety, the anxiety that might come from social situations, all of the moments of overwhelm from being in the same space and not being able to move my body as much as I'd like. How can I navigate through that?
Right.
And so by the time they get to their next step, whatever that step may be, they have the coping strategies, they have the techniques, they have the ability to navigate through that moment and have confidence in themselves to then keep going so that avoidance is no longer top of the list.
That's great. And I have a few questions. One of the things you said was, what's the best we can do today?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say to my son, you can't put 100% into every day.
Mm-mm.
I said, that's a lofty goal. There are some days, honey, where 50% is all you got. And if that's all you got, then that's all you got. And it's okay. And there are going to be days where you're just like, whoa, you're like on fire. Wow, I can give 125% today. But those are rare days for some. Maybe some people have more of those days than others. But that this expectation, you have to give it 100%, is really not helpful to young people, especially young people with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And giving it your all might be a better way of putting it, as long as you say that your all doesn't necessarily translate into 100% every day. I mean, you can only show up with what you got in the tank, right?
Exactly. And that's where social media kind of comes in and can lead to that mental health, because my all might look totally different to this person's all. And I tell my students all the time, you're comparing your worst day to their best day.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare that somebody's
That's what
going
we
to
do,
post
isn't it?
their worst day.
Yeah.
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 And so I always tell them, I'm like, if you have 20% and you give me 20%, you actually gave me 100% that day.
You actually gave me your all.
You gave me your all. And
Yeah.
that is all I'm asking for. What can you give me today? I will meet you there. And that is really what we try to do at SAGE is we want to see these students. We want them to feel seen, feel heard, feel understood. And likely for a lot of them, it's the first time that that's happened. Really, a lot of these students, many of the engagements they've had with educators have been more on the negative. Why can't you try harder? Why can't you do your work? Why can't you participate in class? Why can't you raise your hand?
And don't do this.
Don't do
that.
this.
Don't move. Don't stand up. Don't move.
Here is the box, fit in the box.
Yeah.
And we want to build the box, which is, again, and that goes back to, my story. I want to help them build their own box.
Yeah.
That is what SAGE is, and which is why I'm so passionate about this program. I love it so much.
I'm
Because-
so excited. You gave me the
yeah.
brochure, so I'm just thumbing through it as we're talking. And how do you work with the families of the students?
That is actually a huge part of what we do. So we partner very closely with the families. And I did my dissertation on parental self-regulation. And so we're incorporating part of that into our partnerships with the families. Because a lot of times parents are trying their best, but it doesn't always come across in a way that a teen understands. And so the teen understands one thing, the parents understand another, and there's just a disconnect in the communication. And so when we partner with families, that might look like a therapist reaching out and saying, hey, would you mind coming in and being part of our therapeutic support so that we can improve communication at home? Because a student might be hearing, my parent doesn't like me, my parent wants me to be better, where the parent is like, let me help you, please. And the communication has to be there. One thing, and I kind of mentioned my dissertation, so I'm going to back up just a little bit. One reason that we partner so closely is during COVID, I was a school counselor when COVID hit, and our students were doing okay. The parents were struggling so much. And so I went from being a counselor of students to really a counselor of parents on how to navigate this. And that's why I went in to try and figure out what is going on here. And what I found is that with all of the different stages that students go through, a parent can have, really just knock it out of the park with this developmental stage. But then this developmental stage comes up and they have to start back over. And so parents are really doing the best that they can with what they are understanding. But we are asking our students so much. Come to school, do your work, go to therapy, be on time. All of these things, we need to make sure that we as adults are being held to the same standard. And we need to make sure that parents have the support that they need in order to be held to that standard as well. And so we partner very closely with families to make sure that parents have that support, that families have that support, that we are educating the family as a whole. One thing that we do is we partner with a company called Thrive. And when a student is enrolled at SAGE, the parents are enrolled in a parent workshop where they have access to many different learning opportunities where they can learn about anxiety, they can learn about self-regulation, they can learn about how to navigate through different parenting moments. And then we also have parenting nights as well at SAGE where we bring them into, especially if the therapists are seeing an overarching need within the families, we can offer the parenting nights to make sure that we are meeting that need, because putting all of that responsibility on the student, get ahead of your mental health, be on top of it, figure yourself out, and not putting that on the adults in their lives. We have to model what it is that we are asking them to do. So we have very high expectations for our educators, for our families. We want to make sure that everyone in this student's life is receiving support.
Oh, that's a great resource. Is any of what you're doing research-based?
So we use positive discipline for our research base. And basically the way that we do that is, if you go back to what I was saying before, where a lot of these students have these negative moments, we understand that these students are going to have overwhelming and challenging moments where some decisions might not be the best. And so we use positive discipline where we acknowledge all of the good things that they are doing while also reinforcing these are your expectations. And we need to meet this expectation. How can we meet this expectation going forward? But we want to do it in a positive manner where the student is learning as opposed to being shut down. So we use positive discipline with our professional development with our staff. We use it with all of our parenting educational nights. We use it within our classroom and how we respond to classroom management, with how we respond to challenging moments with students. So our system is based in the research of positive discipline.
That's great. I can't believe how much we've been talking already, and I feel like I have 1,000 more questions.
I love answering questions.
But I do want to know, so what is the length of a class?
That's a great question. So we have 45-minute classes, and we have 7 class periods during the day. So the way that the school day is made up, for our staff, it is 7:30 through 3:30. And we make that very intentional because one thing that we know, especially with students with mental health, inclusion is so, so, so important. Being part of a group, being part of opportunities, being part of activities, that is so vastly important. So the way that we start our day is the staff gets together for a 30-minute morning meeting every single day. And the reason we do that is we have our teachers, our therapists, our admin, special education, everybody coming together to talk about what went well the day before, what did not go well, especially if there's a teacher who said, this student, I got through to them. This is something they really like. And then the other teachers can utilize that to help make their classes a better experience for that student as well. It could also be where a therapist can give the teacher a heads up saying, hey, just so you know, this is going on in this student's life. They might be a little bit more withheld in the next couple of days. So that way, everybody in the staff understands what the needs are for the students. The school day actually starts at 8:20. We have 7 class periods. There are 2 classes that are required for students. The first one, I already mentioned, it's called enrichment, and this is our therapist-led class. And again, these are classes that therapists are taking a look at the student body to get an idea of any soft skills that are necessary or that could use improvement. And then they create a course. So that is a requirement. Students work with a therapist to decide which enrichment course is best for them, so they don't have to take it from their therapist. The second one is called tutorial, and that is taught by a licensed special education teacher, and that is where students receive academic support as needed. So it could be a study hall for students who feel like they're doing quite well and they're on a roll. It could be a resource where students are receiving executive functioning skills, things like time management, things like organization. It could also be a tutoring time for students to help improve in a certain area. So there's lots of different ways that this tutorial class is used. Again, all of these are 10-1. So then we have our school day ends at 2:30 p.m. We do have a gym on campus, so we do have physical education classes, like a full-size gym.
That's great.
Oh, it's the best. I highly recommend anyone come and see the gym in person. And we do have open houses next week, so I can bring people in. But we have, so the school day ends at 2:30. Our staff will always stay until 3:30. And the reason we do this is we are a very student-driven school. So if you ask me right now what our clubs are, we don't have any because we don't have students on campus yet.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
All of our clubs are created by students, and we will have all of our staff on hand to oversee and be advisory for these clubs. So regardless of what club a student wants to start, we have a staff member who can be an advisory for them. So some of the clubs at our other schools are things called Pause for a Cause, which is a fundraising club. We also have Dungeons and Dragons. We have mythology. We have, so many different kinds. We have an art club, a music club, so many different things that students want to go into. And that's where we are able to kind of bring students together so that they can learn to socialize again. Because a lot of these students have either lost that skill or are very nervous about it.
Right.
And so we can provide a safe and nurturing environment for them to relearn how to socialize.
Right. That sounds great. And I ask every guest at the conclusion of our chat, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and make any wish of yours come true, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. I would wish that every single student felt loved, Oh, goodness, I'm going to start crying for a second. But I genuinely, genuinely do. And whatever that means to them, feeling loved means such a different thing to each and every person. But each student is so unique. They have so many gifts. And the one thing that we know for sure is every person has a challenge at every point in their life. You overcome a challenge, the next one is waiting for you. And you also have gifts, an abundant amount of gifts. And I would love to see students feel loved and supported and safe enough to see their gifts, to believe in their potential, to know that what they want to try and do, they can do.
I love it. I love it. I hope your wish comes true.
Me too. Well, that's the goal with Sage. I guarantee you every student that comes to Sage is going to feel that. That is the culture that I am building there.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you came.
Yeah.
You took the time out of, what, one thing that I didn't ask you is what is your title?
Oh, sorry. I'm Lauren. I'm Dr. Lauren Bleggi. I am the head of school of Sage Alliance, New York City.
Yeah. I didn't do that at the beginning, so we'll make sure it's at the end.
You're totally fine.
Thank you, Dr. Bleggi. I'm so excited you came, and I really hope you'll come back. I really will want an update on how it's going. And I'm sure our listeners will want to know more. And again, before we sign off, what do parents need to do to apply to your school? Do they need a neuropsych evaluation? What do they need?
Yes. So the application process, we have an application that I can send you, and it's available. You're welcome to email me, or I can send you and have it sent out. But we have an application. A student also needs to send in a neuropsych, an IEP if they have one. We do not require an IEP, and their latest transcript or report card. And then if they have it, speech and language evaluations. And then from there, we can take a look and see if they're a good fit. The biggest thing that we want to make sure of is we want to make sure that they're ready for the rigor of our academic program, because we do want these students to be challenged and to relearn that joy of learning. So that is a really big part of it. And then one thing to note, if there are families that are going through the legal system, we do accept Carter's and Connor's funding. So we will accept both of those.
Okay, good to know. And if anybody has questions about what Carter and Connor's funding is, you can let me know and I'll explain it. Yeah. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to chatting with you some more another time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.